The meeting will come to order. Please take your seats. We'll begin this evening by reviewing the return of service of the warrant. Greetings. In the name of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, you are hereby required to notify and warn the inhabitants of the town of Littleton qualified to vote in the elections and town affairs to meet in the Charles Forbes K Gymnasium, Littleton Middle School, 55 Russell Street in said Littleton, on Monday, the 6th day of May, 2013, at 7 o'clock in the evening, by posting a printed copy of this warrant by you attested at 8 meeting houses, at the town office building on Shattuck Street, at the post office at Littleton Common, at the post office at Littleton Depot, at the Baptist Church, at the Unitarian Church, at the Catholic Church, at the Congregational Church, and at the Mormon Church, in said town 7 days at least before the 6th day of May 2013, then and there to act upon the following articles. And I find that the warrant for this town meeting was properly executed by the Board of Selectmen, and it was served by Constable John M. Kelly. We are in session. Thank you. I know some people are still checking in, and it's a little bit noisy, but we appreciate your indulgence as we get the meeting started. I hope as you came in this evening, you picked up a copy both of the town meeting report. If you did not bring your report that was mailed to you a few weeks ago, that is the report that's on the newsprint format. Also, there's a yellow handout with updates to those motions that will be essential for you this evening. Before I go over a few brief ground rules, we do have a recognition that we'd like to make this evening, so if people could be quiet for a few moments, we'd appreciate that. Thank you. Quiet, please. Okay, thank you. I'm sure no one here needs a reminder of the tragic events for the past few weeks, beginning with the terrorist attack at the Boston Marathon. Suffice it to say that those who would attack us in that way in order to weaken us will find only that our resolve has been strengthened. I wanted to introduce to you and recognize two members of the Littleton Police Department who, as members of the Northeast Massachusetts Law Enforcement Council, were part of the interagency task force that apprehended the bombing suspects and brought them to justice. And I know we have two officers. We have Officer Tim Schaefer and Detective Pablo Fernandez. Unfortunately, Officer Schaefer is not here tonight, but I would ask at this time for Detective Fernandez to step forward and be recognized by town meeting. Thank you, Detective. I know that many of us take our law enforcement and public safety officials for granted, at least until we need them. And then we're very grateful that they're trained as well as they are in handling any number of emergencies or crises. So we thank you for being with us tonight, Detective. And we've got a few more hands to shake. And then, if I could ask you to, again, stand before the center microphone. And Detective, thank you for your service to this town and to the towns in the region and across the Commonwealth. We would be honored if you would lead us tonight in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
Thank you. How about another hand for Detective Fernandez and Officer Staples? Okay. Moving on, we have a few ground rules to go over, and they're largely the same as they are every year, but if you'll indulge me, as I mentioned, you should have got a copy of the town meeting booklet on your way in here. If you didn't, please get one. Non-voter, non-residents should be seated in to my right, the upper bleacher area. Please note the closest emergency exits in the event that it becomes necessary to use them. We'll try to take a break at some point tonight, but if the spirit moves you and you need to stretch your legs, get a drink of water, please take your leave quietly and return to the meeting as soon as you can. Town meeting guidelines are posted on the town website, but they're really just common sense, and I'll summarize the most important ones. If you wish to speak, you must be recognized by the moderator and state your name and address each time you speak. And if you would do so at the center microphone, that would be appreciated. Personal remarks, rude or disrespectful comments are not tolerated. And we also ask that when people come to the microphone, that you only speak once during the debate on any given article, unless others have spoken and there's an opportunity. So don't speak twice unless everyone's had a chance to first offer their comments. All questions to town officials, board members should come through the moderator. And simple amendments to motions can be made verbally. If you've got a more complicated motion, we'd appreciate you putting that in writing. I would call your attention to the yellow handout, and the first item is the procedural motion. We, in consultation with town council and the bond council, we've come up with this procedural motion that will make some of the votes we take tonight with respect to borrowing and two-thirds votes easier to handle. So do I have a motion? And for Selectman Chairman Champney, if you'd make that motion, please.
Hello?
Okay.
Moved and seconded that the town vote pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 39, subsection 15, that where a two-thirds vote is required by statute, the moderator may declare a unanimous vote to be to a two-thirds vote without taking a count, and that such vote will be recorded as two-thirds vote in the records by the clerk.
Thank you. It's been moved. Is it seconded? Second? All right, been moved and seconded that the town vote pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 39, Section 15, that where two-thirds vote is required by statute, the moderator may declare a unanimous vote to be a two-thirds vote without taking a count, and that such vote shall be recorded as a two-thirds vote in the records by the clerk. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? The ayes have it. It passes unanimously. Thank you very much. We'll now turn to the annual town meeting. As we've done for the past several years, we will start with what we call the consent calendar procedure. That is a procedure by which we essentially bundle a number of motions that we deem to be routine, non-controversial. They are generally recurring items. They're authorizations sometimes that need to be voted each year, but don't generally generate a lot of debate. So in your handout, the booklet, on page 6, you'll see the proposed consent calendar articles at the bottom of the page. There are 10 of them. And our procedure is that I will read the list of those articles, and if anyone has a question or wants to debate any one of those articles, you just simply need to raise your hand, shout out, hold, and we'll hold that item. If it's a question that can be easily answered, we'll deal with it in that fashion. The goal is that if there are no questions, we essentially take one vote on 10 motions and thereby save time in the evening for some of the more interesting articles, shall we say, or time for more pressing business. So I will read through the articles, and then I'll ask if there are no questions, or if there are, we'll answer those, and then we'll have a motion on the consent calendar. Okay, Article 1, Town Officers. Article 3, Borrowing Authorization. Article 6, Stabilization Fund. Article 9, M.H. Kimball Trust School Grant Funds. Article 10, Fiscal Year 2014 Revolving Funds. 16, Compensating Balance Agreement. 17, FY 2014 Personal Exemption Amounts. Article 26, Senior Work Programs. Article 27, Use of Chapter 90 Mass DOT Funds. And Article 31, Rescind Unused Borrowing Authorizations. I didn't hear a hold on any of those. Does anyone have a question or otherwise wish to put a hold on any of those 10 articles? If not, we'll proceed to a vote under the consent calendar. Do I hear a motion to approve the consent calendar as presented, inclusive of the separate and specific motions for Articles 1, 3, 6, 9, 10, 16, 17, 26, 27, and 31? So moved. Second? Okay. All those in favor of the motion as read, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Okay, if the ayes have it, it passes by a unanimous vote. Thank you very much, and that's important because there were some items in there that required a 2/3 majority vote. So, Madam Clerk, please report a unanimous vote on the items under consent calendar. We'll continue on with the annual town meeting at least until we get to 7:30 approximately, when we traditionally have a special town meeting within the annual town meeting. And what that means is that we will essentially adjourn the business, and adjourn doesn't mean end, but we will adjourn the town meeting until such time as we have dissolved the warrant for the special town meeting. Generally, we're right in the middle of the Finance Committee's presentation when 7:30 comes along, but I've been assured that their presentation will be succinct this year, so we certainly appreciate that. We'll move on to, having voted Article 1 under the consent calendar, we'll move on to Article 2. Annual report, moved and seconded by the Board of Selectmen that the town vote to accept all printed reports of town officers and committees as published in the 2012 annual report. And obviously the Selectmen support this article. Is there anyone who wishes to speak to the motion under Article 2? If not, we will proceed to a vote. All those in favor of the motion as read, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? The ayes have it. The motion carries unanimously. Madam Clerk, please so record. Unanimous vote. Thank you very much. Article 3, we also dealt with under the consent calendar, so we move quickly to Article 4, which is the FY 2014 operating budget. I will read the motion, and then we'll have a report from the Chair of the Finance Committee. A succinct report from the Chair of the Finance Committee. Moved and seconded by the Finance Committee that the town vote to raise and appropriate a sum of $34,136,077 and transfer from the fund specified herein the sum of $1,035,695 for a total of $35,171,772 to defray the expenses of the various departments of the town as specified herein, and to fix the salary and compensation of all elected officials for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2013. Mr. Glady.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. We will make this as the moderator and pretty much everybody at the head table is reminded me of a succinct presentation. Trust all of you have had a chance to review the more detailed report from the Finance Committee that came in the mail to you. We also did a local cable televised program last week, which we appreciate the cable television repeating a number of times before town meeting. But we will proceed forthwith. The finance process this year was remarkably harmonious. We had a terrific working relationship between the three primary boards involved, Finance Committee, Selectmen, School Committee, and we thank our friends and colleagues in the Board of Selectmen and the School Committee especially for that. But I think in my opinion, the reason why we have such an uneventful budget presentation tonight owes to the fantastic finance team we have, Keith Bergman, Town Administrator, Assistant Town Administrator Ronnie Holson, Finance Director, Treasurer Stephen Moody, and Auditor. Anyway, we began this year with a number of reforms to our process, a way to kind of reboot and rethink the way we do things. We started the budget process much earlier. We gathered all the players on one day for a marathon session of initial budget request reviews on a cold morning in December. Found that to be, in many ways, much more productive than our practice has been in the past of meeting individually with boards and departments over a 2.5-month process. Gave everybody a chance to kind of see what everyone else is up to. We've also put a heavy prioritization on prioritization in the budget requests, asking the departments, the selectmen, and others to establish priorities before we started looking at actual number requests. And finally, and it will be addressed later on in the warrant tonight, we have taken a particularly proactive approach to some of our capital planning. Not to suggest we haven't been proactive in the past, but we have a change in our structure in the form of a specific capital stabilization fund, which we'll be asking you to vote on tonight. The operating budget, the numbers speak for themselves. The bottom line increase is just 1.27%. Of course, that includes an operating budget that has a lot of items that stay static from year to year, allowing for larger increases in other departments. The principal highlights in this budget are a significant increase to fire department staffing to address concerns about being able to provide round-the-clock both fire and ambulance coverage. We also have provided for this budget a 5% increase to the school funding. This is basically to reflect contractual obligations. You may or may not recall last year there was a deferral of increase in the teacher's contract. Well, this is the year when we make that up. And finally, attendees at last fall's special town meeting might remember that we adopted a schedule for non-school employees, a step and lane schedule, which gives possibility for advancement for employees and gives greater predictability in budget forecasting for the town. This budget fully funds that. Other than that, it's a level staffing budget for most departments, other than the fire department. School appropriation again increases, shown in this slide anyway, under just under 5%. Fringe benefits, nothing terrifically noteworthy. They were fortunate that the costs have not grown as they have in some past years for health insurance-related costs. Capital budget, all of the spending you see up here are items in the first figure, the capital spending, and most of that's reflected in Article 7 of the annual town meeting warrant budget, so you'll get a chance to vote on those individually. The capital stabilization fund is our effort this year to start salting away money for known and potential capital needs down the road, principally building concerns with the fire department building itself is our primary objective here. However, we are in general trying to establish a stability from year to year where needs vary significantly in some cases in capital needs, so that if we begin to establish the stabilization fund, we will be able to continue to fund capital requests without asking of the town either a debt exclusion or capital exclusion, as has happened at times in the past, but not in recent memory. Debt service, the figures you see here reflect all existing debt that the town has already voted at previous town meetings or at the ballot. The short-term debt that you see reflected there is the tract, I believe. Future outlook, it's just worth noting that part of our good fortune this year may just be that a lot of things that can happen to us, health insurance, utility cost spikes, unexpected sped costs, local aid cuts, other emergencies, just didn't happen. It's a little early to get comfortable in the year, seeing how the year doesn't actually begin until July 1st, but at least in terms of the budget creation process, we feel we've been fortunate. That being said, the Finance Committee wishes to reiterate that in our forecasting, looking out 3, 4, or 5 years or so, we do have a structural deficit in that projected employee costs outpace projected revenues, and that takes into account known and in-process development. So we urge the elected officials, selectmen, and school committees to continue to be mindful of that, and as we are as well. So we need to be a couple of years ahead of ourselves at all times to prevent that from becoming a real problem. Before I go to the conclusion, I will say that on items in the budget, the moderator, as is his custom, will be going through the line item or giving you the opportunity to address individual questions there. Members of the Finance Committee, Finance team, or other responsible departments can answer your individual questions on particular line items or articles. But it's worth noting, as we conclude this presentation, as we head into the next fiscal year, that we've had recently our good standing affirmed in 2 significant ways. The town's auditors, Juicy and Kingston, recently presented the town with our annual audit. We were meeting with them, flipping through the management letter, looking for the usual corrections that are included in there, and for this year anyway, they had cited the town for no particular correction that needed to be made. So we don't want to take too much comfort in that, but operations, at least to outside eyes, seem to be going well. In similar fashion, the town's adopted finance policies and cash and budget management has earned the town another excellent bond rating from Standard & Poor. That being said, the collective boards of the Selectmen, Finance Committee, and School Committee have agreed to set up a subcommittee to review our existing financial policies, and we do have policies for debt management, non-dedicated revenue, stabilization fund use, undesignated fund balance, and those have all served us well. So we're looking at a number of other policy areas, including potentially revolving fund use, TIPS, which is tax increment financing, pilot programs for paying in lieu taxes, and you can see the other list there. There's other items that we're looking at. We want to establish financial policies that we will follow on an ongoing basis. In doing that, the final item there wouldn't be a PowerPoint presentation without an acronym that nobody understood. GFOA is the Government Financial Officers Association, an international organization of finance committees and finance directors that sets principles of standard for the financial world and municipalities. So we're trying to work cooperatively with the finance team to more closely adopt and adhere those standards of principle, and in doing so, we think we're going to make the town stronger from a financial management picture, even though we're in a pretty good position right now. So with that, I hope that was succinct enough, and detailed questions we welcome later.
Thank you. We have a few moments before 7:30 when we hope to adjourn this special town meeting. We're going to handle Article 4 as we have traditionally. The procedure is called a partial division of the question. I'm going to read through the departmental totals for each town department. If anyone has a question, anyone wants to put a hole in any particular department, Please yell out hold, raise your hands, make it known that you have a question. We read through the entire departmental budgets, and we vote all the non-held items, then we go back and address each of the holds individually, answer questions if need be, the departments do rather, and then we handle those in a similar fashion until we have a voted budget. You all have the budget in your handout this evening, so I'm not going to read each line item. As I said, I'm going to read the departmental totals with the exception of one amendment that's on the yellow sheet. So let's get started. Department 114, moderator, $100. Department 122, selectman town administrator, $180,190. Finance committee, Department 131, $500. Department 132, reserve fund, $150,000. Department 135, finance and budget, $628,535. 151, legal, $175,000. 155, information systems, $261,432. Goals on information systems. Town clerk, the total for 161, $71,280. Elections and registrations, 162. Total is $8,700. Department 171, Conservation Commission. Departmental total, $19,210. Department 175, Planning Board, $62,230. Appeals Board, 176, $5,440. Department 191, Building Maintenance, $415,405. 193, General Insurance, $340,000. Department 194, Employee Retiree Benefits, $5,895,164. 196, Town Report, Town Meeting. Department 196, $5,000. Department 197, Cable Studio, net budget of $0 due to a transfer in. Department 210, Police Dispatch, $1,643,618. Department 220, Fire/EMF, total budget $745,276. Department 241, Building Department, $101,198. Department 300, School Department, $16,400,000. The total is $16,392,550, reflecting a number of transfers. And then for Department 301, Technical School Expenditures, please refer to your yellow sheet on page 1. There's a further breakdown of that number. Under Technical Schools, 301. Neshoba Valley Technical, $689,712. Minuteman Vocational, $40,000. The total is $729,712. Highway Department, $1,321,676. 422 Roadway Repairs, $483,673. 423 Snow and Ice, $200,000. Department 491 Cemetery, $78,348. Department 510 Health Department, $56,555. Department 541 Council on Aging, $83,611. 543 Veteran Services, the total is $30,750. Department 610 Reuben Hoare Library, $489,304. Department 630 Park and Recreation, $40,000. Department 690 Other Culture and Recreation, $1,250. Long-term debt, $3,612,121. Short-term debt, $326,033. And you see a number of transfers against debt service. So the total for the debt service budget is $3,520,370. The net budgets were $35,171,722. The 772, thank you. Transfers in $1,035,695. Total appropriated budgets $34,136,077. And that brings us to 7:30. So we got through the budget with one hold. We'll get to that hold just as soon as we conclude the business of the special town meeting. So if I could have a motion to adjourn the annual town meeting until such time as the business of the special town meeting is attended to and the meeting is dissolved. I would appreciate that. So moved, seconded. All in favor? Those opposed? Okay. We now turn to the special town meeting warrant. Unless there's any objection, I'll waive the reading of the notice. I do find that the warrant was properly posted and return of service made by the constable. We are now in session for the special town meeting. And if Selectman Champion could again make that procedural motion that we made before the annual town meeting, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Moved and seconded that the town vote pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 39, subsection 15, that where a two-thirds vote is required by statute, the moderator may declare a unanimous vote to be to a two-thirds vote without taking a count, and that such a vote shall be recorded as a two-thirds vote in the records by the clerk.
Okay, is there a second? Second. Okay, all those in favor of the motion as read, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? The ayes have it. The motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much. We'll now turn to Article 1 on the special town meeting agenda, warrant. It's on page 7 in the gray newsprint style handout. Article 1, bills of prior years. I'm pleased to report to you that the town has no bills outstanding from prior years, and we will be passing over this article. And Madam Clerk, please record no affirmative action taken on Article 1. Article 2, fiscal year 13 line item budget transfers. Moved and seconded by the Board of Selectmen that the town vote to amend the FY 2013 operating budget as adopted under Article 4 of the May 2, 2012 annual town meeting and amended by Article 4 of the November 14, 2012 special town meeting by adjusting budget line items as follows. And in the table below you will see the 4 line items that are proposed to be adjusted. The net adjustment is 0, so the total appropriation remains the same. The Finance Committee and Board of Selectmen support Article 2. Is there anyone who wishes to speak to the main motion under Article 2? If not, we'll proceed to a vote. All those in favor of the motion as read, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? The ayes have it. Motion carries by a unanimous vote. It required a majority. Madam Clerk, please so record. Thank you very much. Article 3. This also requires a majority vote. FY13 Minuteman Vocational Bill. Moved and seconded by the Board of Selectmen that the town vote to transfer $40,000 from undesignated fund balance for the purposes set forth in Article 3. Finance Committee and Board of Selectmen are supporting Article 3. Is there anyone who wishes to speak with respect to Article 3? If not, we'll proceed to a vote. All those in favor of the motion as read, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Ayes have it, the motion carries. Madam Clerk, please reflect that the vote was unanimous. Thank you very much. With respect to Article 4, my understanding is there is no motion that will be presented here this evening with respect to Article 4, so we'll be passing over that article. And if Madam Clerk, if you would also record rather that no affirmative action was taken on Article 4, that would be great. We'll move on to Article 5. Board of Selectmen Finance Committee. FY13 capital items from available funds. This requires a majority vote. Moved and seconded by the Board of Selectmen that the town vote to transfer $250,000 from undesignated fund balance to be expended by the fire department to replace a 2006 ambulance. You'll note that the Finance Committee and Board of Selectmen support Article 5. Is there anyone who wishes to speak with respect to Article 5? If not, we'll proceed to a vote. All those in favor of the motion as read, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? The ayes have it. The motion carries by a unanimous vote, and I so declare. Madam Clerk, please record the unanimous vote on Article 5. All right, our next two articles require a 2/3 majority vote. Article 6, establish capital stabilization fund. And the motion moved and seconded by the Board of Selectmen that the town vote to approve Article 6 as printed in the warrant. So the motion is exactly the words of the motion, the article rather, in your handout on page 8. Is there anyone who wishes to be heard with respect to Article 6? If not, we'll proceed to a vote. All those in favor of the motion as read, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? The ayes have it. The motion carries by a unanimous vote, which satisfies the 2/3 supermajority. And please report, Madam Clerk, a unanimous vote on Article 6. Moving on to Article 7. Now that you've created a capital stabilization fund, you'll be funding it with this article. Moved and seconded by the Board of Selectmen that the town vote to transfer the sum of $196,914 from undesignated fund balance for the purpose of supplementing the capital stabilization fund established by the preceding article. And you'll note the Finance Committee and Selectmen are in support of Article 7. Is there anyone who wishes to speak with respect to Article 7? If not, we'll proceed to a vote. All those in favor of the motion as read, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? The ayes have it. The motion carries by a unanimous vote, thereby satisfying the 2/3 requirement. Please so report, Madam Clerk. Thank you. Article 8, Board of Selectmen and School Committee, security upgrades for Littleton Public Schools. This requires a majority vote. Moved and seconded by the Board of Selectmen that the town vote to approve Article 8 as printed in the warrant. The Finance Committee, the Board of Selectmen, and the School Committee all support Article 8. Is there anyone who wishes to speak with regard to Article 8? If not, we'll proceed to a vote. All those in favor of the motion as read, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? The ayes have it. The motion carries by a unanimous vote, required only a majority. Thank you very much. Article 9, water betterment on Gilson Road. The article has been withdrawn by the Water Commissioners, which means that we will pass over it this evening. And Madam Clerk, please record no affirmative action taken on Article 9 at the special town meeting. Now, if I will entertain a motion to dissolve the special town meeting, which dissolve means to end it. Adjourn means recess for the purposes of town meeting. So if someone would make a motion to dissolve the special town meeting, so moved, seconded. All those in favor of dissolving the special town meeting of May the 6th, 2013, signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? The ayes have it. The special town meeting is dissolved. That brings us back to Article 4, the operating budget. We had just read through the departmental totals. The only hold that I believe I heard was on Department 155, Information Systems. If the person who has that hold would step to the center microphone, and please remember to state your name and address. Tell us who you are, because we're recording this for posterity, so have at it.
Dominic Ryan, 544 Newtown Road. My question is that the amount budgeted, the increase there seems to be outstepping pretty much every other item. Could the appropriate person explain the nature of the increase, and since there was a previous increase the year before, is this planned to proceed in years to follow?
Assistant Town Administrator.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Bonnie Holston, Assistant Town Administrator. This increase is actually reflective of costs that were previously paid for by the Light Department out of their budget. So it's more of an accounting entry. It's something that needs to be recorded on the town side. And in exchange for that, the Light Department has increased their pilot payment to the town, so it's a net zero increase.
It's not new capacities, is it that?
No, it's not.
No, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak regarding the held departmental budget information systems? If not, we'll go to a vote on the main motion, the budget in its entirety. I'll read the motion again. Moved and seconded by the Finance Committee that the town vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $34,136,077 and transfer from the funds specified herein the sum of $1,035,695 for a total of $35,171,772 to defray the expenses of the various departments of the town as specified herein, and to fix the salary and compensation of all elected officials for the fiscal year beginning July the 1st, 2013. All those in favor of the motion as read, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Okay, the ayes have it. The motion carries by a unanimous vote. Madam Clerk, please record that that was a unanimous vote. And I do declare Article 4 is complete. Thank you. Moving on to Article 5, Board of Water Commissioners, the FY 2014 Water Enterprise Fund operating budget. Moved and seconded by the Board of Water Commissioners that the town vote to appropriate $2,327,500 from the Water Enterprise Fund to finance the operation of the Water Department for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2013. Finance Committee, Board of Selectmen, and Board of Water Commissioners all support Article 5. Is there anyone who wishes to be heard with respect to Article 5? Okay. Yes, sir. Someone had to break the ice, Jerry, and somehow I knew it would be you.
Jerry Opie, New Estate Road. I noticed a $300-something thousand surplus. Why don't you rebate that back to the ratepayers in form of lower rates?
Mr. Danos?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Jerry and town meeting members, the following year we see the impact of the new treatment plant at well number 2. The full impact in the first year, approximately a $500,000 increase in bond debt. Hence, we start collecting that money now, so there won't be a significant additional rate increase. That's why, Jerry. Because other than that, that money would be returned to you or used for capital projects. Okay?
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else that wishes to speak to Article 5, the Water Department FY14 budget? If not, we'll proceed to a vote on the motion as read. All those in favor of the motion as read, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? The ayes have it. The motion carries. I declare it to be a unanimous vote. Thank you very much. Article 6 was voted previously under the consent calendar procedure. So we will move to Article 7, FY 2014 capital items from various available funds. This requires a majority vote. And you'll see there are a number of items. I'll read the motion, and then we'll, as we do with the budget, I will go through them individually to see if there are any holes. Moved and seconded by the Board of Selectmen that the town vote to raise and appropriate $394,689 and transfer from the undesignated fund balance the sum of $379,110 and transfer from the funds specified herein the sum of $4,000 for a total of $777,799 for capital projects and purchases itemized and described in Article 7 as printed in the warrant. Okay, there are a number of items. I'll read through them, and again, if there's a hold for a question or debate, please shout it out, and we'll return into the hold after we go through the hold. Motion. Number 1, Police Department. Item A, police cruise releases. B, police vehicle maintenance. C, police vehicle refurbishment. D, police portable radios. Roman numeral 2, fire department. Item A, fire major equipment repair. Item B, UHF radio system upgrade. Roman numeral 3, highway department. Item A, highway major equipment repair. Item B, highway loader refurbishment. Item C, highway dump pickup truck. D, asphalt hot box trailer. Roman numeral 4, school department. Item A, school iPads and carts. B, Shaker Lane univents. C, high school Wi-Fi upgrades. D, school technology. E, Shaker Lane playground and fencing. F, Shaker Lane bathroom door dividers. G, technology computer replacements. H, general building maintenance. Roman numeral 5, facilities and infrastructure. A, town hall HVAC. B, town building major equipment repairs and maintenance. C, cemetery building repairs. D, salt shed building repairs. E, fire station modular building. F, sidewalk repairs. Okay, Roman numeral 6, other. A, cemetery paving. And I will note that in the description of this item, it refers to Foster Street site, and it's Foster Avenue within the cemetery department. So that's $15,000 for paving on Foster Avenue. Item B, Long Lake security. Item C, recreational vehicle lease. And item D, library furniture. All right, I didn't hear any holds there. And the motion has been read and seconded, so we'll proceed to a vote. All those in favor of the motion as read, please signify by saying aye. Aye. And those opposed? The ayes have it, the motion carries, and I declare it to be a unanimous vote. Thank you very much. There will be no motion presented under Article 8 this evening, Littleton Commons Smart Sewer and Preliminary Design. So we will be passing over Article 8. Madam Clerk, please record that no affirmative action was taken with respect to Article 8. Articles 9 and 10 were voted previously under the consent calendar procedure. So that brings us to Article 11, Board of Selectmen and Personnel Board. Personnel bylaw amendments. This requires a majority vote. And it's moved and seconded by the Board of Selectmen that the town vote to amend Chapter 33 of the Town Code precisely as set forth in Article 11 as printed in the warrant. And you'll note that the Finance Committee, the Personnel Board, the Board of Selectmen, and the Park and Recreation Commission all support Article 11. Is there anyone who wishes to speak with respect to Article 11? Yes, sir. Please come to the microphone and identify yourself.
Good evening. I'm Bill Schmidt, 4 Kinlock Street. I believe I'm more than qualified to analyze and critique the proposed changes in Article 11. First off, let me give you a little background. I'm a former personnel director for the town of Arlington, where I was also the chair of the Personnel Board. Secondly, I'm past vice president of Reining & Schmidt Associates, which is a human resources consulting firm where we're very instrumental in developing and implementing numerous job evaluation, wage and salary compensation studies for both the federal government, state, and municipal governments as well as the private sector. I have in excess of 30 years of experiences in all facets of human resources. The proposed Article 11, Schedule C for the temporary seasonal Park and Recreation Department positions for the 2013 season. The structure, I believe, is totally inequitable and it's unfair to the employees. Let me cite a few examples, if I may. If the proposed Article 11 Schedule C salary structure is implemented, and I'll say that I was a camp lead counselor in grade 8 at step 1 last year. I was earning $11.50 under the existing Schedule C salary structure. If I was rehired this year in the same position, I would probably go to step 2 at grade 6 at $11.73 per hour. If under the proposed Schedule C, I would end up going to $11.32 per hour, which is 18 cents less than what I was when I was hired a year ago, and it's about $16 per week less in my paycheck. I don't believe that this is a sound compensation practices because it's not the way to reward reemployment loyalty. Another reason I believe the proposed Article 11 Schedule C is a totally inequitable structure is because the relationship between the grades, the dollar amount, and the percentage amounts are not equitable, as I stated. I'll just go very quickly to give you an idea that the percentage difference between Step 1 and Grade 1 and Step 1 of Grade 2 is 3.125% or 25 cents. Between Grades 2 and 3, it's 11% or 90 cents. Grade 3 and 4 is 6% or 55 cents. Grade 4 and 5 is less than 1%. It's a nickel. Grade 5 and 6 is 11.3% or $1.30. Grade 6 and 7 is 2.25%. It's a quarter. Grade 7 and 8 is 10% plus or $1.20. Grade 8 and 9 is 7.6% or 95 cents. Grade 9 and 10 is 26% or $3.50. Now I ask you, where are any equitable relationships between any of these grades? I don't see any. Therefore, I also have to assume that there may not be any equitable relationships between positions, such as the Camp Counselor series, where there are 4 plus an assistant director and a director. There are 24 positions listed in the proposed Schedule C with 5 steps. Again, I ask you why, when people in these positions are new hires each and every year, wouldn't it be better if we had maybe a range so that a new hire would be hired at the minimum, someone with either prior experience or in a comparable position, or they're coming back, could be hired within that range? Therefore, I request the town meeting that the existing 2012 salary schedule C be kept and not changed as proposed. It's long past time, ladies and gentlemen, that the salary structures or schedules in this town show and reflect some degree of constant percentage and/or dollar equity, and employees receive what is properly due them based on merit and their position requirements. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak with respect to Article 11? If not, we'll proceed to a vote. All those in favor of the motion as read, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? No. Let me try that with a show of hands. That might make it a little... Okay. All those in favor of the motion as read, please signify by raising your hands and keeping them held aloft. Okay. Thank you. All those opposed? Okay, I'd say that the noes have it with respect to this article. Something? No, my understanding is that the gentleman recommended essentially a no vote. By retaining the existing schedule, he was recommending a no vote on the proposed amendment to the schedule, which in essence is what carried the vote. Okay, so the motion fails. Please record. To what point of order do you rise, sir? It's all inclusive. No change will be made to the personnel classification schedule. So the motion fails, and by a majority vote, and we will move forward to the next article. Article 12, no motion will be presented this evening regarding Article 12, so we'll be passing over that article. Madam Clerk, please indicate no affirmative action taken. That brings us to Article 13, the FY 2014 Community Preservation Budget. Moved and seconded by the Community Preservation Committee to approve the appropriations and reserves itemized and described in Article 13 as printed in the warrant. The CPC, Finance Committee, Board of Selectmen all support Article 13. Is there anyone who wishes to speak with respect to Article 13, the Community Preservation Budget? If not, we'll proceed to a vote. All those in favor of the motion as read under Article 13, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Okay. The ayes have it. I declare that it passed by the necessary majority. And please record that vote. Madam Clerk, thank you. Okay, we'll move on to Article 14, Home Rule Petition, Conservation and Recreation. Land exchange. I would call your attention to the yellow handout where there is a revised motion for Article 14. Moved and seconded by the Board of Selectmen that the town vote to approve Article 14 as printed in the warrant, with the last sentence of Section 1 therein to read as follows. The dry, non-wetland portion of said parcel, shown as parcel A2 for recreation on a plan by R. Wilson Associates dated May the 6th of 2013, has been declared surplus by the Conservation Commission. If you note the date of the plan, the ink is probably barely dry on it, but nevertheless, that's the motion. And is there anyone who wishes to speak with respect to Article 14? The aforementioned plan is projected on the screen in the front. Anyone who wishes to speak with respect to Article 14, this requires a 2/3 majority vote. If not, we'll proceed to a vote. All those in favor of the motion under Article 14 as read, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? The ayes have it. The motion passes. I declare it to be a unanimous vote, thereby clearly satisfying the 2/3 requirement. Thank you very much. We'll move on to Article 15, and I would again call your attention to the yellow handout. There is a motion there with respect to Article 15, which I will read to you now. Moved and seconded by the Community Preservation Committee that the town vote as follows. 1, to transfer from Community Preservation undesignated reserve the sum of $145,000 and to appropriate and borrow the sum of $270,000 in accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 44B, the Community Preservation Act, for a total of $415,000 for the acquisition by gift, purchase, or eminent domain of a fee simple interest or lesser interest in a parcel of land approximately 7.16 plus or minus acres, together with all flowage rights and easements and subject to all well rights and easements pertinent thereto, currently owned by the Congregational Church of Littleton, located at 194 Great Road in the town of Littleton, and described by the Littleton Board of Assessors as parcel U06-4-0, and authorize the treasurer, with the approval of the Board of Selectmen, to issue any bonds or votes that may be necessary for that purpose, as authorized by Chapter 44 or any other enabling authority. 2, to authorize the town administrator, Board of Selectmen, and/or Conservation Commission to file on behalf of the town any and all applications for grant funds pursuant to the Self-Help Act, Mass General Law, Chapter 132A, Section 11, the regulations described in 301 CMR 5.00, and the requirements of the Land and Water Conservation Fund, Public Law 88-578, 78 Stat 897, or any other applications for funds in any way connected with the scope of this acquisition. 3, to provide that said parcel, or much lesser interest as may be acquired, shall be under the care, custody, maintenance, and control of the Board of Selectmen or its nominee, and held for the purposes of A, agricultural use, and/or B, sale or lease to third parties who shall engage in such agricultural use, and 4, to authorize the town administrator and the Board of Selectmen, as they deem appropriate, to enter into all agreements and execute any and all instruments, including the conveyance of a perpetual conservation or agricultural preservation restriction, in accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 184, as required by Section 12A of Chapter 44B, as may be necessary on behalf of the town to effect or further the purposes of said acquisition, or to satisfy the requirements of any grant fund received to effectuate this article. Community Preservation Committee, Finance Committee, Board of Selectmen, and Agricultural Commission all support Article 15. Is there anyone who wishes to be heard with respect to Article 15? Yes, sir.
Sam Bell, 508 Great Road. I'm asking for your support for this tonight from the Littleton Conservation Trust. We find this to be an important step as to what might be the first step in acquiring farmland in Littleton to continue the agricultural character that we so dearly love in Littleton. The Conservation Trust has found this to be so important that we have contributed $10,000 to hopefully aid in this process so that it will be conserved as agricultural land. It enables us to continue on and pick up where other people left off, and hopefully, in addition with the Cooper land and the Fletcher land across the street, may proceed to a large purchase and conservation effort. It will control sprawl on the way toward Acton so that we don't end up looking like Acton. And I hope you will vote in support of this. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Yes, good evening. My name is Warren Terrell. I live at 14 Mill Lane. I'm also a member of the Congregational Church of Littleton and in charge of negotiating the sale of our Church Meadows land to the town of Littleton. Tonight we have an opportunity for sanctuary. Let me explain what I mean by sanctuary. This particular sanctuary, the Church Meadows land, hopefully will be purchased by the town for agricultural purposes. As many of us will know, here in Littleton we have 6 houses of worship. These 6 houses of worship, the Mormon Church, the Boston Metro Church, First Baptist, St. Anne's, First Unitarian, and the Congregational Church, are sanctuaries for all who would enter therein. In like manner, the town of Littleton has set aside sanctuaries for all who would enter therein in our conservation lands. Some of these include Oak Hill, the Lucy Yap Land, Sarah Doublet Forest, the Morrison Farms apple orchards, obviously used for agricultural purposes. These are but to name a few of our conservation, our sanctuary lands of Littleton. With these sanctuaries, our churches, our conservation lands, chaos and evil are not vanquished, but they are held at bay. We at the Congregational Church of Littleton are very pleased that with this town meeting support, that our Church Meadows land will become part of the sanctuaries presently owned by the town of Littleton. We will use these funds from the purchase and the sale of this land to expand our meeting house at 330 King Street. That construction will begin next spring. The Congregational Church of Littleton and the town of Littleton have been partners since 1840, 170 years ago. We are grateful that with this purchase by the town, that we will remain in partnership for another 170 years. We seek your affirmative vote on Article 15, and thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Dr. Elizabeth Ahern, 11 Florence Street, and tonight I'm presenting a statement on behalf of the Littleton Community Farm, Littleton's new nonprofit agricultural education organization. We are in full support of Article 15, the acquisition of the Congregational Church Meadow property at 194 Great Road for agricultural purposes, and we urge the voters of Littleton to approve this transaction. Our organization strongly believes that this parcel of land should remain in agriculture, as it is a limited and very precious resource. Littleton is fortunate to be located on glacially enhanced soil 15,000 years in the making, and its best use is for farming. The National Resources Conservation Service, part of the USDA, has characterized such land as a national and natural treasure. If it's developed, it's gone forever. Littleton Community Farm is so pleased that the Congregational Church has decided to make this property available to the town of Littleton. We are also thrilled that all the town boards, the Board of Selectmen, Finance Committee, and the Community Preservation Committee and Agricultural Commission have all voted to support this article. It is important for voters to know that taxpayers will not be asked to assume any additional financial burden to enable this purchase. We also believe that this level of board support is clear evidence of the importance that preserving this land is important to the entire town. Once acquired, we believe there are many, many possible agricultural uses for this property. Some specific examples might include development of nonprofit hunger relief community farms, such as ones now operated by the Church Meadows group from the Congregational Church. They are currently providing free food to Loaves and Fishes, which is our local food pantry. Another use for this land may be used for-profit commercial farmers, such as those farmers we currently have in town, we visit, and we highly value. Or perhaps the land could be used for the creation of a not-for-profit educational community farm. These organizations teach about farming and its benefit to the public, provide access to land and crops, and contribute to the community in a variety of ways, both with food and economic support. All of these types of local farming are important, and it's exciting to see what the future holds for the Congregational Church Meadows property. With all this being said, the most important issue today is acquiring the land and allowing it to be preserved as farmland forever. Thank you for your time, and please vote yes on Article 15.
Chair Opie again. This is a fantastic opportunity for the town. It's a beautiful gateway piece of land. I just have one minor concern. Farming right now is attractive, economically sound, but 75, 100 years from now, it might not be. Do we want a final contingency to allow the land, should it not be economically feasible to farm, to be used for general conservation purposes? I'm thinking back a number of years ago when the town moved the library. The Houghton building was a gift. It turned out 100 years later, there was a restriction, I believe it was in the will, that limited it to a library. And the town's hands were tied, that about all it could be used for was the Historic Society. I'm just thinking, decades down the road, I would hate to see the town be forced to support something that might then be unprofitable. Either way, I fully support this, and I urge you all to vote yes.
Okay, thank you. Sir? Just a minute, Peter. I'd like to hear from the town administrator on that last point. Mr. Moderator, through you to the previous speaker, with respect to the question of controlling the use of the property forever, the purpose of the vote to put it into agricultural use, I think a good way to look at it is every generation gets to decide what to do with its town property. And this generation gets to decide that it be put into agricultural use. Now, forever is, I think, a term of art, the way the state legislature looks at it. The vote that we just took under the preceding Article 14 was where this generation made a different decision than a prior generation and decided that property that was set aside for conservation should be used for recreation in one case, and recreation property should be put in conservation. There is a procedure that you can follow. Future town meetings can do that. But the decision that's being asked of this generation of Littleton voters is to set this property aside for agricultural use.
Thank you very much, Keith. I'll withdraw any objections, then it's a very good idea to vote for this.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
My name is Peter Yap, 450 Newtown Road. I'm also on the Ag Commission. One of the members that voted for this particular property. I think it's a good idea. However, I wanted to clarify a couple things. First of all, the Cooper and Fletcher land again was brought up. Again, I want to remind everybody it is not for sale. I don't know why people keep bringing that up until there's a demand, whatever, from the Fletchers to sell their property. So that was one point. Second point, what everybody said about the land being very suitable for farming, I think it's a good idea, but one thing I'm concerned about, I keep hearing speculation that certain groups are going to be given this land after the purchase, not necessarily given, but allowed to be there. And I think that buying land for any reason to have it targeted for somebody or some group should not be done. So I think everybody, my recommendation would be to the selectmen to have some very strong and fast rules of who gets to farm that particular land. And that's the point I would like to make, because we have to have people in there that are going to be able to farm it and farm it for years. Thank you.
Thank you. Board of Selectmen.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Mr. Yap, I think the Board of Selectmen moving and voting on this property to have the Agricultural Commission be actively involved in regards to making any decision on any type of agricultural property in the town.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Mr. Moderator, Joe Calentro, 8 Nancy's Way. I have a question for either Town Council or Mr. Bergman. Once we vote this to be agriculture, it stays that way. Is that correct?
Town Administrator. Town Council, rather.
Through you, Mr. Moderator, to the previous speaker, we're voting at agriculture, so if that's what it is. If we want to change that, we're going to have to come back here and vote it as something else, and likely go through the process of going to the state to have it removed from agricultural use.
So it's a process we have to follow.
Yes.
It's not just the Board of Selectmen or us voting to change it. It's got to go into the legislature.
Right. This town meeting is telling this board that they want it for agricultural use. So that's what this board can do with it, subject to the various clauses in the motion. But I don't see anything in the motion that allows them to do anything with it other than agricultural use.
Thank you. I still have some other points, Moderator.
Okay.
I just want the town to be aware, if you haven't checked it lately, we have 2,193 either conservation land or land held open space, which equates to about a quarter of an acre for everybody in town. We keep buying up land. Some of the previous speakers mentioned that we don't want to be like Acton and so forth. This town needs revenue, no matter how we look at it. We're hurting for revenue, otherwise your taxes are going to keep going up. And there's nothing wrong with, if you look at it, Westford, Harvard, Groton, Concord, and Acton. They've centered all the stores and so forth on a strip. And all of these towns, if you go back less than a quarter of a mile, you're going to see, particularly in Acton and Concord, 3, 4, 500,000, $1 million houses a quarter mile from their strip. They kept it all centered. We're not doing that, and we need revenue badly.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Mark Levine, Hartwell Avenue. I'm looking at the two different printings. One of them points out 7.16 acres on the yellow sheet, and on the white printing that came out earlier, points out 7.61. Can we have a clarification on that, please?
Mr. Moderator, through you to the previous speaker, the motion is correct, 7.16 acres. The number in the warrant was a typo, and the motion that you're being asked to approve has the correct number.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
I'd like to address a previous speaker about we need more revenue. as I understand it, this land is zoned residential. If we don't buy it, you're gonna see, I believe, up to 3 houses put on it. That doesn't add revenue to the town. In general, that takes in terms of additional costs related to kids in school, infrastructure. So if we don't take it out of development, it's gonna cost us. And in that sense, we're much better off buying the land, keeping it as farmland, than seeing yet more houses, more urban sprawl going in.
Okay. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I live up near that area, and I do go out and do a nice morning walk every day and so forth, and one of the things I found an area to walk through is to go down the back of the church and walk around that total area down in there. And that, from what we've been discussing here, that property is more acceptable and more valid to be used as farming property than anything else we've talked about. It's not a place that's adaptable or easy to get at if you're going to build any housing or down there. And the way that the ground is and everything else, the most acceptable thing that it's available for and the most functional thing would be as a farming property.
Thank you, sir. Yes, sir.
Mr. Moderator, thank you. Alex McCurdy, Harvard Road. I think we should go back and look at how we got here. And I think in planning exercises, as the Board of Selectmen and others look at economic development, one thing rang very true with the public, is that we wanted to preserve our gateway into the community. We have been given a great opportunity to preserve not only a fine piece of agricultural land, but our heritage and our gateway into the community. And I hope that we look at that this way, and I urge you all to vote in favor of this. Thank you.
Jamie Cruz, 571 Great Road. I am a professional grower here in town, and we had representatives from the entire Agricultural Commission, mostly made up of professional growers here in town. And this piece of property is a prime agricultural land, no matter what it goes into, whether it be fruit and vegetable production, and it has a wonderful portion of the property behind the frontage that you all see that would be ideal for pasture. And as much as the town may need more revenue, we all need to eat, and we all need to keep our food supply closer to home. So I suggest all of you vote in favor of this. We need to keep our food systems closer to where we live. Thank you.
Just a point of order. I heard somebody behind me yell out, close, or go with the question. It should come to this microphone, is that correct?
That's correct. However, if there were no one standing at the microphone, I would have moved the question.
Right. But to somebody to call it out from the bleachers shouldn't be done.
I said that in the past, that I can't react to somebody shouting from the rafters, that it should be properly moved from the microphone. That's
Thank
correct.
you.
Okay, let's say there's no one left to speak to this article, we can move to a vote. This requires a 2/3 majority vote. Earlier this evening, you gave your moderator the authority to declare a unanimous vote as satisfying a 2/3 majority. However, if the vote is not unanimous, we will have to count heads. So I'll need 3 or 4 tellers if we don't get a unanimous vote here, and that's quite all right, but we will need to get a specific count on that. So I won't reread the motion. You have it on your yellow handout. All right, Town Council correctly points out that since there's borrowing involved in this article, our local bylaw, section 18.6, is invoked, and we are required to use a ballot and checklist form of balloting for any measure that incurs debt. However, if we get a unanimous vote,
we can have one voter cast a specimen ballot, thereby dissatisfying the bylaw. That's not to influence anyone's vote one way or the other, simply to point out the fact. So all those in favor of the motion as read under Article 15, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Okay, I heard a no, so it's clearly not a unanimous vote. So we will have voting by the ballot and checklist system. I'd ask everyone to remain in place at the moment. The town clerk and her team of checkers and tellers will need to position themselves to prepare to receive your vote. You'll notice the signs on the wall that indicate by the first letter of your last name which section you should proceed to cast your ballot. So we'll give them a few minutes to get in place. This might be a good time to take a needed break to stretch your legs because the balloting will take some time. Just as soon as they're set up, we'll start with the balloting. So feel free to talk amongst yourselves. Thank you. Well, while the votes are being tallied on Article 15, we're going to move forward. And you will recall that Articles 16 and 17 were included in the consent agenda that we voted some time ago. So the next article that we have to consider is Article 18, payment in lieu of taxes, solar. And it's been moved and seconded by the Board of Selectmen that the town vote to approve Article 18 as printed in the warrant. And the Finance Committee, Board of Selectmen, and Solar Pilot Committee, Subcommittee rather, support Article 18. Is there anyone who wishes to speak to Article 18 or explain what it pertains to? Selectman Champney.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I was actually on the committee, the solar committee, as the selectman's representative, and we looked at negotiating with Nexsun Energies to put this program together. Instead of paying taxes, they have a dedicated payment each year. So the first 10 years, we're going to receive $80,000, and then the next 10 years, we'll receive $70,000 each year. And what that will mean is there's 80% of the project is going to be on the roof of the building that's behind Sandell. There's a big warehouse back there. You can actually see it from space. And then 20% of the project will be on the ground, but in an area that would not be able to be developed today.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone who wishes to be heard? Yes, ma'am.
I'm Joanne Derry from Harwood Avenue, and I just wonder why payments in lieu of taxes? Why not just pay taxes? Why?
Okay. No, sorry. The Assistant Town Administrator.
Thank you. Municipalities hosting solar generating facilities have two avenues of taxing. You can either just straight value the personal property or the real estate and the facilities in the same manner as other personal property. That avenue is subject to requests for abatements from the solar property owners, and the disposition of those challenges are lacking case law at this time. The statute also allows you to do a voluntary pilot tax payment to be negotiated between the developer and the town, which has been done. The value is based generally on the taxation that would be collected if it were straight taxation. What it does is it allows the developer to have a fixed payment stream so that they can set their pricing, so that they can make long-term contracts with purchasers. In this case, the power that's generated would be sold back to our own Littleton Electric Light Department. And again, when looking at the property where this is to be located, it's not developable under the standards today, so it's not revenue that we would be receiving if we weren't able to use it in this manner. Again, we're very comfortable with the revenue stream that we've got projected here. It allows them to set their rates accordingly and enter into those contracts, and allows us to know what the general fund would be receiving. And again, this is a general fund receipt. It comes in just like taxation.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak to Article 18? Yes, sir.
Harvey Atkins, Newtown Road. I had a solar array on my roof. It was a small one, and it was a hot water system. It lasted approximately 20 years, and I see this as a 20-year agreement. At the end of the 20 years, do we own it? What happens to our electric rates? This is electric generating system. And I know that some of the systems have a relationship with rates versus, time increasing in rates to cover the cost of the generation. So I'm wondering what it does to our present system. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Danos?
To the speaker. Harvey, this is one of our mutual fund approach to our power supply costs. Again, for those who don't know me, my name is Savas Danos. I'm the general manager of your light and water departments. And it's just another one of the tools in the toolbox, Harvey. And the nice thing is that we are able to have in-town generation. And with this plan, it's just straight contract. We don't own it. We never own it. We have no liability. If they produce electricity, you, the ratepayers, get the benefit of solar power at a reasonable rate. Not by far the cheapest rates vis-a-vis our other power contracts, but a very affordable rate. The town's pilot, as long as I suspect it's operating, they get the pilot. So there's no liability at all from the town's perspective. There's no liability at all from you as a ratepayer. If the sun is up, we get the power. If the sun's not up, we don't get the power. And we buy it someplace else. And hence, we have the lowest electric rates in Massachusetts, if not all of New England right now. What
Okay, thank you. Yes, sir.
Mark Rambacher, 205 Hartwell. I had a question. If we didn't enter into this agreement, what would they be paying us instead? I mean, they're not paying us $80,000 a year out of the goodness of their heart, so this must be some advantage to them.
Assistant Town Administrator.
Yes, thank you. Again, where the testing of this valuation of solar equipment is relatively new, and again, it's unchallenged. We had estimated somewhere between the range of 100 and 120,000 annually in real estate, in personal property taxes. However, it is subject to abatement requests going to appellate tax board. Town council fees, not to pick on town council, whereas a pilot arrangement is not subject to appeal. And it's something that is agreed upon by both parties.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to be heard before we proceed to a vote? Also, before we proceed to a vote, two things. During the break, someone asked me if the folks at the front table could identify themselves before they speak, as not everyone knows the members of the Finance Committee and Board of Selectmen. And also, we've found an iPod, so if you're missing an iPod, you can claim it here at the podium, or you can wait till later if you'd rather not. It has a red cover. All right. This requires a majority vote. All those in favor of the motion as read under Article 18, please signify by saying aye. Aye. And those opposed? No. Okay, the ayes have it. It passes by the necessary majority vote, and I do declare it to be a vote. Please so record that. Madam Chair, thank you very much. We'll move on to Article 19 as we wait for the tally and the vote under Article 15. Tax title abutter lot sales program. This requires a 2/3 majority vote. It's been moved and seconded by the Board of Selectmen that the town vote to approve Article 19 as printed in the warrant. And you'll see a list of parcels and lot size and their street location. This is a program by which the town sells tax title parcels, unbuildable properties to abutting property owners. Is there anyone who wishes to speak with regard to Article 19? Projected on the screen, you have several slides that show an aerial view of some of these parcels. Is there anyone who wishes to speak? Yes, sir. Mr. Venuti.
Steve Venuti, Town Treasurer. This is the third group of parcels that we're putting into this program that was approved by town meeting a couple of years ago. The program has been very successful. Of the 9 parcels that have been in the program previous to this, we've actually sold 5 of the 9. So this is putting an additional 10 parcels in, and we've already had pretty good response to these parcels from the abutters.
Thank you.
Anyone else before we proceed to a vote? And once again, I'll remind you, this requires a 2/3 majority vote. And if we get a unanimous vote, we will not have to count heads. All those in favor of the motion as read under Article 19, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? The ayes have it. The motion carries by the necessary 2/3 majority. As I declare it to be a unanimous vote, Madam Clerk. Thank you.